Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and today I've got a really weird video, probably, where I'm going to be talking to you about my ideas for Skaven. So, I have to thank the wonderful people over at ChatGPT because that has helped me to draft all of this. I need to go through it and make it a bit more accessible. I also want to put it on the internet somewhere so people can provide feedback. What's the point of this? Well, GW aren't supporting the old world, really, are they? Let's be honest. They've done Cathay. They said the scale of the project has increased, but they've done Cathay. I'd imagine they'll do cat people at some point because they've appeared in Total War Warhammer, so that's exciting. But anyway, so what I wanted to do is to go through all the factions, basically from the bottom renegade factions. Well, not renegade, the bottom unsupported, whatever the hell they're called, factions, and give them a proper army tome. This is, in my mind, this is like an open alpha thing. Like I said, I want to do set up a website so people can comment on individual bits, and maybe I'll do some videos with other people where we talk through my ideas for rules. So any creators out there who want to take a piece of that, send us a message. More than happy to include, because I want to get the game sorted, because there's like 6 factions that aren't being supported and GW haven't seemingly got any plans to. So I kind of also want to embarrass them into it, and also because of essentially the Renegade pack, and there are a few other bits of comp going on around there. The data's balked anyway. It's really difficult to look at the data and draw any firm conclusions as to what's going on in terms of game balance. So yeah, I mean, this is my attempt to bring Skaven up to the middle ground, really, or maybe even top of middle. So let's just go through it as if it's a battle tome that's been released. That's probably the easiest way of doing it. So with the battle tome that's just been released, I've followed the same formatting, but I tend to, sorry if I'm moving around, it's just it's very sunny today and I can't really see, there we go, I can't really see what's going on. Hold on a sec. Because the light from the window in front of my monitor is glaring at me such that I can't see the screen. That's better. Right, let's tackle, in fact, let's make it bigger. 1 page. Let's tackle the special rules first. The Menace Below. This is my favourite thing about playing Skaven in. And another thing I wanted to do was try and bring in elements of the Total War game. So essentially the gaming elements that they've introduced in Total War, I really want to try and bring that into the old world, because some of them are really cool mechanics. So this is my attempt to do the Menace Below. So I have brought Skaven slaves back. They are awful. They are awful. But you can shoot through them. That's another rule that you'll see in a bit. Because I think that would be quite cool. I don't really know how to balance that, but yeah. So anyway, you can, at the start of your turn, you can deploy a unit of 13 Skaven slaves anywhere, at least 9. They can move, charge, and act normally. So, you can't pop them up within units, but you can charge. Now, the reason I did that and allowed them to charge rather than allowing you to just pop them into combat is, even with a charge, oops, not 89, 9, at least with a charge, there's still a chance. They've only got to move 5 anyway. There are effects that might get them up to move 6, but, still, you could roll a poor charge and them not be able to get in. So, that's okay. Never count towards core, no victory points, and may not be larger or reinforced. I don't know why, or reinforced. The problem with ChatGPT, I don't have any rule that allows you to increase your number, but I'll just put that in just in case in future I decide to add that as an ability. Right. You may use this rule once per turn up to a maximum of 3 times per battle. This is like your classic Total War, like Skaven thing. You get random. Well, you don't get a random number of units, but you get a number of units, so you can expend food, which is a campaign resource, to get more. And then, as you get better, the Skaven slaves that pop up turn into to something else. Because it's Skaven slaves, though, Skaven slaves can have slings, so you could have some slingers just pop up. And it's 13. Seriously, they're rubbish, though. It's nothing to be. It's just quite cool. Power of the 13. In order to get an irresistible force, Skaven have to hit exactly 13 after modifiers. So if they've got +1 to cast and they roll a double 6, then that's irresistible force. So the point of this is basically that if you've got no modifiers, then, or if you've got a +1, if you've got a +1 to your casting roll, it's exactly the same, right? Irresistible force. But if you're like a level 2 or a 3, it means the number that you need is less. So you're more likely to cast an irresistible force if you're a higher ranked wizard, basically. So it increases their magical potency. Yeah. But there's a trade-off. So I thought that's interesting, but there is a trade. In fact, I'll just talk about the trade-off now. So Warpstone tokens. So if you miscast, you resolve it as usual. Then, if you've got Warpstone tokens unconsumed, so if you have a Grey Seer who may have like 3, 4, 5 Warpstone tokens about his person, then let's say he's got 4, he takes 4 Strength 2 hits, no armor save. I might change that to Strength 3 actually, but I don't know actually. I don't want it to be auto dead, but I do want it to be really painful. Warpstone tokens are cool. So after rolling to cast and determining the initial casting result, I have actually changed the rules for this after writing this. So, do you know what? I think I'm actually going to change that before rolling to cast a spell. Because it used to be that you had to try and hit 13 with the Warpstone tokens, and then they would get irresistible for. The rules were just too long. But basically my initial concept was, well, let's keep rolling D3 until you get that modified 13 result. But if you don't, then you suffer negative consequences. But I've changed the rules a little bit. So I think now before I was to gamble for the horn rot. So you get D3, add the results. No, I didn't want to do that. Did I want to do that? No, because it's quite bad actually. So is a 1. Is a natural 1. As in not 2, which is 1 on D3. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, so for each token consumed, you roll D3, add that to the total casting roll. If you roll a natural 1, the wizard suffers strength 2 hit for each Warpstone token consumed, no armor saves. So if they use 2 and you roll a 1 on either of them, you take 2 strength 2 hits, no armor saves. If that makes sense. So, using lots of them, if you roll you firstly increase the chances of there being a 1 and then you take hits. But if you get irresistible force, no damage is suffered. So that can negate the effect of, say if you rolled if you had 2 Warpstone tokens, for instance, you rolled a 1 and a 3, but you rolled a 1-1 rather than a 2 being a 1, then you might take 2 strength 2 hits. But if the total is therefore then 13, then you ignore that. I'm not sure why I put those restrictions. There was a reason, actually. I can't remember it now. I wrote this a while ago. Yeah, because basically, I think it was last December, I was chatting with Val about, doing a bit more work in terms of a bit more interface. This is just intended to be fun and just start a conversation. So, if people like the idea of this, then, let me know and I'll write it up. But properly. But what I'd like to do, if if you like, is especially if you're a Skaven player, is basically set up like, I don't know how to do it. Like I can't like the idea of like having a section of text and then feedback underneath. So like having a forum underneath, so we could chat about each individual section of the rules. Maybe I don't really know how to do that tech wise. I'm not very good at websites, but I mean I can make a website, but I don't know. I'm not, compared with the skills that some people have, I'm absolute novice. Anyway, miscast and unspent warpstone. We talked about that. Expendable vermin. Units of this rule never cause panic. Characters in joining these units also count as expendable. So if you join in a rat swarm or giant rapt or a Skaven slave unit, then you've just made your character expendable, which is not so good, really. Scurry away when you flee as a charge reaction, so it's not, the rules used to be, was it something like +1 to retreat rolls or something like that, but all retreat rolls? I'm saying that if we're choosing to run away as the result of a charge reaction, we count as having swift stride. So you can roll. Swift stride basically means you can roll an extra dice. So the optional bit is contained within the swift stride rule, not the scurry away rule. I did initially have it as they just get swift stride. Other than the charge phase, but it just didn't work. Verminous Valor. This one's really cool and really interesting, and I'm really happy with this one, actually. Whenever a Skaven infantry character, it's got to be infantry, so if you're on a bell, you can't do this. But whenever a Skaven infantry character has a challenge accepted or accepts a challenge, they may instead declare, drown him in claws and teeth. Yes. And if they do so, the character is immediately moved to the rear of the unit, and they basically just go whoosh, and then everybody like around them, all the rats around them, kind of pile on to whoever's had the temerity to challenge their champion. And they're just gonna, because Skaven are cowardly and unchivalrous, right? They are the opposite of chivalry, and therefore I think it's super characterful that they have a rule where they can basically pick on somebody bigger than them and then run away and get their mates to have a go instead. That's exactly what, and I don't think I've quite got this rule right, but that's kind of what I'm going for. Anyway, the character is immediately moved to the rear rank of their unit. The friendly character is immediately moved to the rear rank as comrades swarm falls to attack. Every model in the characters in the friendly characters unit that can attack the challenged enemy must do so. The enemy character gains +1 to hit for the duration of that combat. Skaven models do not count as doing so, blah, blah, blah. For filling in for the character moving back. So, essentially filling in. I've not written that very well. Step forward or fill gaps in the front rank to fill in, basically, for this character. Do not count as... I need probably a bit of help there. But, anyway... essentially, you move your character for the back, you replace them with somebody else in the unit, and everybody's got to attack that character, which you might actually not want to do, but, that's... it just also means that a unit can't be challenged out by a dragon, really. Or you can't, that's the wrong... No, because you do want to challenge out a dragon, don't you? But, yeah, it just means that... that you can't, your characters don't get sniped by challenges, basically. But then that does mean that, thanks for that, I've asked, but then that does mean that they get +1 to hit, which is pretty nasty if they use Verminous Valor. But that does also replace the existing Verminous Valor rule, by the way. Weapons, so if they roll a 1 to hit, they take a strength 2 hit, armor saves allowed. Basically, the whole point here is Warpstone tokens, it's the same as being hit by a Warpstone token, except Warpstone tokens are consumed, so they're already past your armor because you've eaten it. Whereas this, it's outside your armor, so you get a bit of protection against it, essentially. Life is cheap. A Skaven unit may shoot at an enemy unit engaged in combat, provided every friendly model in that combat has the expendable vermin rule. So Skaven slaves, giant rats, and rat swarms, you're able to shoot into combat. Hits distributed equally between enemy and friendly models, with odd hits being distributed to the enemy units. So, you know, there's no dice rolling for that. It just will hit both equally, which I think is probably the quickest and easiest way of doing it. Clan enmity, this is basically the same as so essentially Skaven, like every single Skaven character has like a unit has like a rule on its profile that kind of enforces that, so I just thought I'd shove it there. And then the final special rule, mass moves mass. This I've totally changed how Screaming Bells and Plague Furnaces work. So, model with this rule must begin the battle as part of a unit of clan rats, storm vermin, or plague monks containing at least 20 models. Once deployed, the model and its rider form a single combined unit and may not voluntarily leave it. What do I need to say here? I need to say it is not counted as a character purposes if deployed in such a manner with a unit. Okay. A model with this rule has a move characteristic determined by the unit strength. So if you've not got a lot of unit strength... Now, for instance, the Screaming Bell is a unit strength 9. No, it's not. It's a heavy chariot, so it's a unit strength 3, I think is heavy chariot, isn't it? And Plague Furnace. So they're both... So as long as there's 6 models in the unit, you can move an inch. You've got unit strength... So as soon as you get to unit strength 10, so that's 7 or more models, basically infantry models. And then this one's obviously a bit more. But it's quite easy to make them really, really slow and a bit rubbish. Including this. So every time the unit moves, roll a d6 on a 1, it takes d3 stomp hits to represent rats getting caught up in the mechanisms and just getting... They're not very sturdy contraptions. Occupies a footprint of 3x4 models. The base sizes, there's a range for base sizes, so some of them don't actually really fit 3x4, but you know, that's what I'm saying. It may project beyond the rear rank if necessary, so if you want to do line hammer with it sticking out the back, that would look stupid, but okay, whatever. That would be a terrible idea from a rules perspective though, so I wouldn't do that. Counts as a large target, but it does get lookout sir. So if the unit strength is below 20, they get a 5-out lookout sir, and if it's above 20, lookout sir succeeds on a 2-up. Unit cannot leave their charge. Their favour is such that they would never abandon their article of faith. So essentially this kind of Screaming Bell and the Plague Furnace, like the unit would never leave. So you've got a bit of a trade-off, really. So, I mean, Plague Furnace, Plague Monks, whatever. But actually, if you're running a Screaming Bell, do you really want a massive unit of clan rats, like 40, maybe 50, 60 clan rats, just so you can move it around a lot? Because they are going to die quite a lot. Because they're going to die whenever somebody shoots at the bell, and they're going to die every time well, not every time it moves, but, you know, quite often it moves for any reason. So there's going to be quite a few stomp attacks. Whereas if you put it in Storm Vermin, you know, Strength 5, no AP. I mean, so strength 5. If it's D3, 2 strength 5 hits, 2 go through. Might have heavy armor and a shield, so it might kill 1 storm vermin every time, whereas it'll probably kill 2 clan rats every time. So, you know, how do you, you know, but then if a unit charges in a turn, it gets like a, I don't know, and it gets an overrun move and maybe something else. So it could have like 3 moves in a turn, really. So yeah, anyway, let me know what you think to that as a rule set. Maybe these figures are a bit generous. Maybe that should be 3 up and that should be a 6. I don't know. I don't know. But that's the special rules for my Skaven thing. I have made a Law of Ruin, which I'll talk about now. So the signature spell is Warp Lightning, D6 Strength 5 AP2. Really. For each Warp Stone token, add D6 hits. Casting value 6. That was before they changed the magic levels, wasn't it? So I need to change these. Is that too much? I think that might be too much because it's high number of hits, high AP, medium strength, high range. 24 is a long range. Right, tell you what, I'm going to do that. And then add D3 hits. I'm going to do that. There we go. I think that's better. That looks a bit more balanced, doesn't it? D3 strength 5, but so if you've used 2 warp zone tokens, you can get it up to probably 6 hits, which is pretty decent. Yeah. Actually, I've made that. Yeah, that's there. Then we've got Vermintide, which is another magic missile. 2d6 strength 2. Models with a 2 up armor save treat it as a 3 up. Minimum 6 up. Yeah, I think this is ChatGPT writing things weirdly. The maximum armor save against these hits is allowed is a 4+. Let's just say that. So AP2, so basically your heavy knights with their 2 or 3 up save, actually they've only got a 4 up save because it's rats getting in between chinks in armor and all the rest. But armor does help if you've got rats trying to bite you, but it's limited. And I have actually been attacked by rats when I was a child, which is weird because, you know, I got I was attacked by some rats around my granddad's house when I was very little, and yeah, I still love rats. Weird, isn't it? I found a load. He had a chicken. He kept quite a lot of chickens. It was the chicken shed at the top of his garden. Yeah, because the old house was called Sunnydale. It was the house, and then there was like a big lawn, and then at the top of that lawn, he had like there was a rather large but overrun and not very good chicken shed there, and it kept chickens, but there were a load of rats. And anyway, I went in there to collect eggs one day, and 3 rats came out and started attacking me. So yeah. I just ran away. They didn't actually, you know, I think one nipped my leg a little bit, but, you know, I just ran off. Because, you know, I was about, I don't know, Christ knows how old I was. Very, very little, like 10 or 11 or something. And they were big, like you know, even now as an adult, I'd think they were big rats. They were proper, they'd been living there a while. Anyway, so I've had a Vermintide cast at me, is what I'm saying. And it's, you know, it's a bit scary. Clothes don't help, but I'd imagine armor does. Skitterleap, we've got 7-inch. It's an augment. That's not the right word, is it? This is the, oh bloody hell, what's it called? It's not called an. Why is ChatGPT's called it an augment? Well, it is augmentative, but that's not what it's called, is it? This is called a. Oh my god, I've forgotten the name. The bloody magic move things. What are... This is so stupid. Like, why have I forgotten this? Sorry, bear with. Oh, Jesus wept. Magic missile. Conveyance! How did I forget that? That's like a legal phrase. I should remember that. Conveyance. So choose one. Immediately make a teleport move 12 in no time. For each warp stone, you can increase the distance by 12. Choose one friendly character on foot. Should I say friendly character on foot who has yet to move? That model may immediately make a teleport move of up to 12, ignoring terrain and units, ending more than 1 inches from enemy models. And you can increase the range by more warpstone tokens. You'll see a pattern here. I want warpstone tokens to have a bit more impact than just adding to spells. I'd kind of like them to make the spells better as well. Wither, and again, this is an alpha version, so, you know, tell me what you think. Wither... cast on an 8. It's a hex. -1 toughness to a minimum of 1. For each warpstone token, roll a d6. On a 4, the effect becomes permanent. Do you know what? I think that's a bit too good. I think permanent -1 toughness. Permanent -1 toughness is pretty powerful, so we don't want that to happen very often. In fact, I'm really tempted to get rid of that, because I think that might be overbalanced, so I'm going to highlight that. Warp Gale, cast on a 9. It's a hex. 24-inch range until your next... Why does it keep saying... This is one bit that I apologise. I've been through the rest of it, I think, and taken out some errors, but this bit still has some ChatGPT language nonsense. -1 to target unit suffers -1 to hit with shooting attacks. Unit with fly immediately must move as grounded models. That's pretty cool. Actually, yeah, let's delete that. No, actually, no. I'm not going to do that. I think this is too good at the moment. I'm going to make it 18. I think that's probably okay. Now this is a spell that will just basically take out balloons. So that's why I've reduced the range. Because I think 24 makes it a bit too obviously anti-balloony. Blessing of the 13th. This is not an augment, it's called enhancement. Let's do range, choose within range. It gains +1 leadership and hatred, everything. That's not the right thing, is it? It's all. If the unit rolls a double 1 in any leadership test during this period, it takes D3 strength 3 hits as well. Resolving the test. Yeah, I think that's fine. 10+, but, you know, re-roll all hits and +1 leadership. That's pretty decent. Skaven are actually, when they're in numbers, they've actually got pretty decent leadership. It's when they start to lose their numbers that their leadership values, like, fall off. And then the Great Norhol, I'm tempted to make this like a 12 or something. So Magical Vortex, I just wanted, like, a super spell, like, just for Skaven. Because I think they really do deserve a super spell, because they're reckless enough to actually try and cast the damn thing. And I think that's the thing with, like, as you got towards... It's not like magic isn't suddenly got more powerful around the end times. Well, I mean, it sort of did, but it was more that the wizards got more and more desperate, so were more and more happy to take risks, you know, with continent-destroying spells that would, you know... like the magical arms race just went like a bit nuclear, really, and then Arcane blew up the whole planet. Yeah, so I think it's just more wizards got more reckless. Anyway, Great Norhole, cost of 10, Magical Vortex within 12, small round template anywhere within 12, immediately moves to 2d6 in a direction of your choice immediately. D6 strength 3, AP 1, magic phase. At the start of each subsequent magic phase, on a 4-up, moves 2d6 at random. On a 1 to 3, it collapsed. Before rolling for the Norhol's direction, however, the caster may consume 1 Warpstone token to attempt to control it. If they do, roll a d6. On a 2, the caster chooses the direction. On a 1, they take a strength 4 hit now, with no armor saves, and the Norhol moves in a random direction. So you can basically use your Warpstone tokens to stop it from collapsing, because it doesn't collapse if you use this result, and then you can choose the direction, which is mega. And it's cast on a 10, and yeah, that's the reason I didn't make it 12, did I? I was going to make it 12 to make it really hard to cast, but actually that would also make it really hard to be gotten rid of. So, you know, D6 Strength 3, AP 1, you know, and 2d6 isn't that bad. It's a bit like your old Column of Fire. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that's quite an interesting mechanic. I don't know, you know, but I've not seen that anywhere else. But I think, again, Skaven give you the opportunity to do stuff like that, so you probably should, and just see what happens. I do kind of want to limit this to being 1 on the table, but I think actually it will be, because level 1... Well, I suppose they do have Warpstone tokens, but a level 1 wizard, even with a Warpstone token, you know, they're only casting it half the time. So a ragged hole to the Under Empire tears open, spewing rats, debris, and... No, that's not what happens. That's not a good narrative. But anyway, great Norhol. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with the Law of Ruin, to be honest. Weapon armory. We've got a Warplock musket. We've got a Warplock pistol. Warplock Giselle. Poison wind globes. I don't think I've changed the rules for any of these. I have changed unstable ammunition, haven't I? Yeah, that was above, wasn't it? So yeah, if you roll a 1 to hit, you just take a strength. Yeah, it's not the 6 succeeds and all of them ignore arm saves. Warp Lightning Rocket. This is a new thing, so I'm bringing back the basically the Bombardier model, if you remember that one. So we're going to have him again. But he's also got unstable ammunition. This one's cumbersome. It's pretty cool, though. He's got basically a crack missile, you know, which is pretty nice. We've got a Plague Sensor, which I've updated, so it works a bit more like a flail. Warp Grinder... I think I made that better somehow, and I can't... But it doesn't look like it. Yeah. But then we've got loads and loads of magic items and stuff that I've made. You'll see some stuff coming back from various Warhammer editions. But anyway, let's get back to the army list. Now, Grand Army composition is more or less the same. As far as I'm concerned, I think that's fair. But I want 1 Skaven Warlord or Grey Seer per 1,000 points. So if you have 2 Grey Seers, you can't have a Warlord, basically. In your 2,000 point list, same again. So you'd imagine most lists will have a Warlord and a Grey Seer. And then you're allowed a Warlock Engineer or Clan Moulder Master Moulder per 1,000 points. The Grand Army, the 2 Specialist Armies, I've gone for Eshin and Pestilence. So Master Moulder I've brought back here, and I've brought back Pack. So I've changed the way that Pack Masters work. So the Pack Masters and Master Moulders are not really a unit upgrade anymore. They're an actual character. So they can take magic weapons, which is cool. And that means you can make your unit of giant rats even better. And then we've got Assassins. No Master Assassins in the Skaven Grand Army, though. But you got Plague Priests. You're allowed 0 to 1 Storm Vermin per 1,000 points, but in order to stop people just loading out with Storm Vermin, I've gone 1+ units of Clan Rats or Skaven Slaves per 1,000 points. So you've got 2,000 point list, you've got to have a unit of Clan Rats, and you've got to have a unit of, or 2 units of Skaven Slaves, 2 units of Clan Rats, whatever, you've got to take them. Which I think should... I don't know whether to delete that. I mean, that's probably an option. Yeah, I think that's probably an option, isn't it? because I think 1 unit clan rats, 1 unit storm vermin's alright. Your night runners, giant rats, and rat swarms, you take as many of those as you like. Up to 50% on special, so the composition is the same. It's 50, 25, 50, 25, you know, as usual. We're allowed gutter runners, 2 rat ogres per 1,000, 0 to 1 unit of plague monks per. So what I've also done is I've changed it so you've got to take multiple engineers to take multiple units of like Jezzails and plague monks and stuff. So if you want more of a scryer list, you need more scryer warlock engineers. So if you wanted like 3 units of Jezzails, you need 3 clan scryer warlocks. I don't know, that seems like a bit too but then so a warlock engineer basically unlocks a selection of 1 unit of Jezzails, 1 unit of Globadiers, and the Doom Wheel and Warp Lightning Cannon. So basically 2 Warp Lightning Cannons as well. So I don't know whether to change that a little bit. Maybe that should be 0 to 2. But yeah, those probably need a review. Not sure on that. You'll add 0 to 1 Hell Pit, Doom Wheel, blah, blah, blah. So all the rare stuff's exactly the same. Yeah, and the Battle Standard Bearer is the same. So, Clan Pestilence, what's different about them? Well, we're going Filth, Faith, and Fumes is kind of like the theme here. So you're allowed 1 Grey Seer, full stop. You're allowed Plague Priests, Assassins, Chieftains, Packmasters. Yeah, well, I've already done that with... That was my restrict... ChatGPT's just basically reprinted my restrictions when I said, make me this list, but this is kind of the theme. 1 Plague Monks per 1,000 points. I think that's absolutely fair. Clan Rats, Skaven Slaves, and Rat Swarms, also fair. Because of the stuff that I said earlier, the stuff that I said in the special rules, Plague Priests are the only characters that can join Plague Monks. So you can't like stick an assassin, or you can actually, sorry, with its hidden rules, but you can't stick a chieftain in with the Plague Monks. Basically, it's got to go with the Clan Rats or the Slaves, and the Packmasters can only go with the Rat Swarms, essentially. And we've got some Rat Ogres, we've got Hell Pit. A Plague Priest can become a BSB. Army Ride. Enemy units take within 6 of Pestilence are -1 to their panic tests. And enemy units shooting at a Pestilence unit must roll a 6 to hit. Re-roll a 6 to hit. So that basically means that they can't be poisoned in shooting. They can in combat though. No effect in combat. It's kind of like the opposite to Nurgle. And then Clan Eshin. We've got Master Assassins and Eshin Sorcerers, so I brought those back because I think they're quite cool. We've got Eshin Assassins, Chieftains, Packmasters, Battle Standard Bearer, an Eshin Sorcerer, maybe a BSB. So that's why you'd include them really, but a Master Assassin and an Eshin Sorcerer, you might see that. And then there's a Triad that's possible as well. That's another thing that's from Old Hammer. Whilst an assassin or master assassin remains in ambush, you may add or subtract 1 from reinforcement rolls. So essentially, you want to like keep your master, or maybe have an assassin in ambush with the other stuff, and try and keep that assassin off the table so that he can help everything come back on, and then the assassin comes on last. Is kind of like the theme. -1 penalty to enemy panic tests due to high losses. So again, it's not mega, it's not going to make a huge difference. It's just sort of slightly flavourful in that it is a bit more panicky when people around you start dying and you can't, you know that things are being chucked at you, but you don't really know where from, and that's a bit sort of panicky, isn't it? So that's, and it's a -1, it's not a reroll. Anyway, here's my Pestilence thing, and this was like a totally mad idea I had, but what about if a Scar veteran, like a Lizardman Scar veteran of Itza, was turned by Nurgle into some kind of Pestilence related, now the Horned Rat Scaled Prophet of Decay, Skorchka. Anyway, the Rot Scaled. So he's basically got, I've put it up to, he's essentially got an Old Bloods stat line, but toughness 6. So he's got +1 toughness, which that might be a bit low, to be honest. That might need to go up. How he's not allowed in any units, and so he's got a special magic spear, magic shield, full plate armor, level 1 wizard, and that's not actually armor, so that doesn't cancel that out, right? I probably need to put that somewhere, but anyway, he's got regen 5, which is pretty nice. He hates lizardmen. He's got scurry away, immune psychology, verminous valor, and fear. It causes fear. When he slays a model in close combat on a 6, he gets a wound. He counts as Skaven, Pestilence, and Lizardman for the purposes of hatred, etc., and may only join a unit of damned spawning. And when he miscasts, he rolls an additional d6 and discards the highest. His unnatural hybrid form partially absorbs the warp backlash. He's got a magic spear that's got poison attacks on a 5, which is pretty cool. Multiple wounds 2, magical attacks. But no AP, of course, so that's, Oh, sorry, it counts as a halberd, so it gets the same, like, strength and AP benefits as a halberd. But it does mean he can't use a shield. I haven't given him a hand weapon. There we go. Right, and he's got a hand weapon as well, so he can use the Plague Shield. So the Plague Shield, if an enemy unit rolls a natural 1 to hit in melee, suffers a single strength 1 hit with no armor saves allowed, ward and regen saves may be taken as usual. That doesn't really work, does it? I need to do something about that, because I kind of wanted both of those effects, so that's something that I need to have a look at. If Skorchkar, the Rot-Scaled, he may be accompanied by a single unit of damned skinks. So these are the damned skinks. They count towards his character allowance. So again, it's another sort of mechanic that I thought was quite cool. Let's have like a bodyguard unit for a character. And if the more of that you take, the more it counts towards characters. Skorchkar counts as a unit champion for the damned spawning. The damned spawning skinks never count as a separate unit. They're an upgrade. You can only have 1 if you field Skorchkar. So the damned skinks, they got BS4, which is pretty cool. They're toughness 4, which is awesome. 8 points is pretty cheap. Poison 5, immune psychology. They've got a 6 at ward save. No, that's not that. That's not that. That's not right. Pestilent aura. That's supposed to key into the pestilence thing. Was that also called pestilent aura? I can't remember. That was supposed to be... There we go. That was supposed to key into that. So, yeah. So they get the -1 to panic. So they give -1 to panic for the enemy. 6+... Oh no, I've got pestilent aura here. No, I didn't mean that. No, go away. Right. And they're allowed a musician and a standard bearer. So they haven't got a champion. Skorchkar is the champion. And they may replace javelins with blowpipes if they like. So they've got javelins and hand weapons. So they've got no armor save. But, they've got a 6 up armor save from their skin. And, did I give him regen? Yeah, regen. They're supposed to have regen. Hold on. Generation 6+. I think I've been editing this and deleted the wrong thing. There we go. Regeneration 6. There we go. That's nice. And then the other special character, because we've gone Pestilence and Eshin, is Screen Death Whisper, the Shadow's Price.
They say you never hear scream kill, yes. Not sound, not squeak, only hush, like a candle going out.
It's,
even shadows fear the shadow that serves no master. Yes.
Teloborny is simply the Shadow's Price, the inevitable consequence of disobedience. He is said to have slit the throat of a vampire in his own crypt, to have poisoned a Chaos Champion with a single word, and once, during the Battle of the Gnawing Moon, to have appeared behind an elven prince in the midst of his shining host, murmured something none could hear, and left the elf staring and blinking until the end of the battle. Sorry, I know it's my own joke. You shouldn't laugh at your own jokes, but that's quite funny. um, I'm quite proud of that. That's and the other thing about Skaven is they should be stupid, right? Just like every time you look at them or read the rules or read anything about them, you're just like, what is going on? These are amazing, but what? So that's kind of what I wanted to try and get across here. Anyway, Screen is 185 points. That might be a bit cheap. Again, that's probably for review. Anyway, he is a Master Assassin. This is basically the Master Assassin stat line. Very good weapon skill, as you'd expect. Not great strength or toughness, to be honest. He's only a rat. Decent amount of wounds. High initiative. Now, Eshin need high leadership because they don't have horde stuff. Anyway, so he's got paired Weeping Blades, which 2-hand weapons, poisoned, armor bane 2, killing blow, supposed to be magical as well, magical attacks. He's got a 4 at ward save against shooting, 5 at ward save in combat. He's got throwing stars of Eshin, which are what was his name? The other thing with the 3 things, with the 3 blades. What the hell was he called? Oh, the old Skaven assassin. Anyway, whatever. They're basically his rules. 3 shots, move and shoot, quick shoot. So he can march and shoot. You know, he's got movement 6, so he can move 12. Still throw these 8 inches. Strength 4, poisoned. You know, and there's 3 of them. That's not terrible, really. And this is really cool, I think. Once per battle at the start of any combat phase, may declare the use of his smoke bomb. He is immediately removed from combat, placed anywhere within 12 more than 1. He doesn't count as fleeing and may not join another unit. If he was part of a unit, the unit remains there. He cannot be placed in base contact with any models this phase. So basically, at the start of the combat phase, you can basically set him up to block a charge, and then he can go and then appear the other side of them and just be very, very irritating. He has no armor, right? So he's just got his ward save. Or you could say his dodge save. Anyway, but so I don't know about that. I'm tempted to give him like -1 to hit in shooting as well. He is pretty good, but like I don't know whether people would actually take him because like there's better options. But he's cool, just in case you want to do like a named Master Assassin-y sort of thing. He is slightly better than your traditional Master Assassin, I think. Although... Oh, I've put everything in order, haven't I? Sorry, this is all the Pestilence bit. And this is all the Scryer bit. I bet the Eshin bit is right at the end. Moulder bit? Yeah, it is. Right, we'll come back to that. Right. Grey Seer, 190 points, level 3 wizard. Toughness 4, typical level 3 wizard sort of profile. He's already got Warpstone tokens D3 on his profile, which is cool. He can take an additional hand weapon or a halberd. His halberd's just basically a big wizard stick thing. He may take light armor. No, he can't. Don't know why that's there. 1 per army lady rider screaming bell. I didn't want multiple screaming bells. I think you know that was stupid. You can so Warpstone tokens, rather than being a magical item, I've put them as an upgrade here, so they don't count towards magic items. And he may be upgraded to a level 4 for 20 points. What I have done in considering points for wizards is I've essentially given a premium to the level 1 and level 3 slot, and therefore allowed the level 2 and level 4 upgrade to be cheaper, if that makes sense, because level 3 and level 4 is basically just an extra spell, whereas level 2 to level 3, well, at that point you're getting +1 to cast, an extra spell, +1 to dispel, and increased dispel range. So level 3 is the most expensive as far as I'm concerned because of what it gives you. Whereas I think the way that they're pricing it at the moment is every level is like the same interval, and it shouldn't be. Like level 1 should be like 40 points because you get access to all magic stuff. Level 2, in my opinion, should be like 15. Level 3 should be an additional probably 30 points on top. And then level 4, I think, is another 20 because it's another spell, basically. Maybe even 15 again, because there's loads of magic items that just give you +1 spell. And that's effectively what level 4 is now. So, anyway, He's got all these things. I don't know whether... Whatever. Magic. Don't know why that's on that line. Every Gracier knows, so he's allowed Battle Magic, Demonology, Dark, Elementalism, Illusion, Law of Ruin. So he's got a lot of choice, actually. He can go for a lot of things. Screaming Bell is 180 points, so you're up to 370 to take him on a bell. Remember, it's a heavy chariot, so that's 9 wounds, which is pretty good. And he can give himself a 5 at ward, so that's also pretty decent. It's got a 4, which gives him a 4 up armor save. A single Gracier must ride the Screaming Bell. Yeah, there's the Screaming Bell. In fact, I'm going to make that really abundantly clear. The Screaming Bell. Right? Push by units. A mass v mass. We've already talked about that. That's the same as it is. That's more or less all the... No, actually, this is very different. I've given him magic resistance. I think he already has that. It gets D6 plus 1 impact hits if it's pushed by unit strength 20 or D3 otherwise. So I hope people understand what that means. It gets D3 stomp attacks as well, as like the rats like grind it around and, you know, grind it over people. It's got magical attacks and it's close order. All friendly Skaven gain +1 to cast within 12 inches, and then the Peel of the 13 Clans. I tried to get it so that these effects kind of like gave an effect that was sympathetic with the clans. So it's a bit more kind of, I don't know, it feels a bit less... There's a purpose, or there's a reason, or there's a rationale for each one of the things. Catastrophic feedback. You rolled, when did I say? In the controlling player's command phase. So if you roll a 2, the bell and its unit each suffer D3 strength 5 hits. That's basically 2D3 strength 5 hits, AP2, no ward saves. So that's really bad. I want the really bad things to be really bad in Skaven. Like, you know, the perfect game with Skaven involves your entire enemy army being destroyed, and yours. And you've done all of that. You've destroyed all them and also killed yourself. And that's the perfect Skaven game for me. All that matters is you keep the Gracier alive. And that's the only thing that doesn't die. Right. All friendly Skaven get +1 move if we're on the Whisper of Eshin within Gracier's command range. So if he's the general, then that'll be 18 because he's on a large target. All enemy units within 12 inches take D3 strength 3 hits with no armor saves allowed. Enemy units, which is pretty cool. You're allowed ward and regen. Pulse of the Horned Rat. Gracier gains +1 to cast until the end of, so that obviously stacks. So he gets +2. In addition, all friendly Skaven units immediately rally as if they were fleeing, which is also pretty cool. The Surge of Scryer. All missile units may re-roll 1s to hit. Roar of Moulder. All friendly Skaven units get +2 initiative, which is pretty cool. And the 13th Peel is amazing. Well, it's not that amazing, actually. Anyway, all friendly Skaven get Frenzy, which is pretty good. And it can attempt to cast a single spell from the Law of Ruin as a bound spell with power level 3, but it cannot be a magical vortex. So you're not allowed to cast that spell. The horrible Norhole spell. The great clans, Moors, etc. There's lots of great clans. Moors are the biggest of them. You know, Queeg Headtaker was a chat from those, if you recall. Anyway, so we've got Warlord, Chieftain, same as they were. I don't think I've changed any of this, to be honest. I may have allowed them to take a pistol. I'm not sure they're allowed to take a pistol. But anyway. Then we've got Clan Rats. They're exactly the same. They can have thrusting, spears, and shields for a point. Or just hand weapons. Why didn't I give them the option of... Oh, yeah, because like thrusting, spears, and shields, if you like, they should only be worth 6 points with spears and shields. And, yeah, I don't know why I didn't just give them spears and shields and make them 6 points, to be honest, but whatever. That's all the same. They're a regimental unit. Got Storm Vermin, who, again, are the same. The Fang Leader costs an extra 7. They can take shields, blah, 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 blah. I've not gone through this and decided who can have magic banners within units yet, but at the moment I'm saying Storm Vermin can't have a magic banner, nor can Clan Rats. So that might be a bit of a point of contention. People might disagree with that. Then we've got weapons teams, which are just in a detachment. I quite like the way that the square-based chaps have turned it into just a detachment. Absolutely makes sense. Yeah. Rattling gun. I think these are all exactly the same, to be honest. I think these are all exactly the same. Yep. Skaven slaves, dirt cheap, rubbish. Yeah, may not take standards. They're allowed a musician and maybe slings, but they're BS2, so they're going to miss. Yeah, they're just awful. Now, they have mass panic. When a unit of Skaven slaves breaks from combat, it does D3 strength 3 hits, armor saves allowed. Then they are removed from play. So, like with your... so they're going to do some hits, but they're probably not going to do any damage. But the 2 points each, and this is the point I'm making about the 13 that you get. I mean, it's basically 78 points of stuff is going to pop up and just get in the way a little bit. But the leadership too, they don't have... Oh, that's a good point. Strength in numbers. Yeah, that was... I don't know why I didn't just use Horde. I think I don't know why I didn't just do that, to be honest. So these are Horde units. Horde units. Warband. Horde and Warband, these both need. Warband. Yeah, and these Skaven slaves do not have Horde and Warband. So they just die and run away. They've only got leadership 2, so they need basically snake eyes to stick around. Do you know what? I'm going to give them Horde and Warband, because nobody's going to stick a character in there, are they? Or actually, just give them Warband. They don't need Horde, do they? Because that gives them 3. So they're only allowed to count 2 ranks at the moment. Yeah, I think I need to go through all these and put in close order, open order, all that kind of stuff. Skaven slaves I'd have as open order probably, and these 2 close. Yeah, oh, I have put close order there. Okay, open order there. Cool. I don't know about this though, because I don't know whether to put no armor saves, but then I think that would make them too good, wouldn't it? Because then you could kill 1 or 2 really, really expensive cavalry units with basically something that's worth nothing. Yeah, cavalry models. Sorry. Anyway, on to pestilence. Plague priests. I've given them more wounds. Oops. I've given them more wounds because I think just having them as being little mini tanks would be quite cool. So toughness 4, 4 wounds, can be a wizard. Yes. Oh, I've made level 1 45 or level 2, so that's an extra 15. You see, they can buy warpstone tokens, magic items up to 70, even though it's quite a low level character. Can ride a plague furnace, which essentially takes it up to 10 wounds on the plague furnace there, which is pretty cool. Impact hits D6 plus 1 if got unit strength. They don't get D3, so they've got to be unit strength 20 or more. So, hold on a minute. Plague Furnace, I've made 210 points. Did I make the Screaming Bell cheaper than the Plague? I did. Screaming Bell's very good for 180. Not Not sure about that. Yeah. Anyway, any comments, you know, please put a comment down below. I really want to make this the best it can be. So maybe that's wrong. It is quite cool though, because all enemy units are -1 toughness while within range. All pestilens within 12 get poison attacks, which is fucking great. And after all attacks, they get to make a wrecker attack, which is the great. Roll artillery dice. Number roll is hits, strength 5, AP 2, and magical. If it misfire, then it could get hurt. It could get hurt. Or the plague monks make an additional full round of close combat attacks, that's mega, but really, really unlikely. It's 1 in 36 because you've got to roll that, and then you've got to roll 6 on the mishap. So I don't know whether that should be a negative effect or a positive. But I've made it a positive at the moment, which is probably not right, but yeah. And of course, everybody within all enemy units being -1 toughness is absolutely. That's why the extra points really. That might even have to be more. I'm not sure about that. Oops, doesn't have a leadership. All I wanted to do was, goddamn, why are you doing this? Why are you like this today? There, right. And when I say you, I mean my fingers. They're not doing what I'm telling them. Then we've got plague monks, which are the same as they were. I've allowed them to take a magic standard. Frenzy, horde, scurry away, warband. Yeah, they've got all the keywords. I don't know. Anyway, plague censer bearers, they're the same. Plague horde catapults are exactly the same. Yes. And are therefore rubbish, but that's not their fault. That's the fault of the stone thrower rules not being very good. And then we've got Scryer. Warlock Engineer is the same, except again I've changed the 40, 50. I've changed the change that points value for level 1 wizard, and warpstone tokens come here, so you know you can make some quite expensive characters with 2 wounds and toughness 4. Oh, I think he was toughness 3, wasn't he? And I've made him toughness 4. But you can put him on a doom wheel. And you could have a warlock engineer with a warp-lock rocket on a doom wheel. That's a wizard. Ah! Which I just think that'd be so cool. It's just absolutely mental. I've given it warp goggles. Is that a chat GPT thing that I've missed? It is, isn't it? They're just giving it warp. Fucking. It's already got D3 warpstone tokens, so you're unlikely to buy more. But you know, whatever. You might want more. And it can only take, so it's got a hand weapon, nothing, or one of these. Warp-lock rocket at 25 points is quite a lot. I mean, it is a crack missile, but still. Which is pretty cool. And in fact, like, if you wanted to take 3 of those, that's 50, 60, so that's 180 points for 3 crack missiles. I mean, that's probably worth it and cool. But then you roll a 1 to hit, and, you know, I might change it so the weapon hits its own model. I don't know. I don't know how to balance that, because basically the warp lock, because, like, you know, well, that would just kill it off, wouldn't it? It would just be, like, insta dead. Anyway, whatever. Tell me what you think about this, because I think it's cool and exciting, but you know, it might be totally broken and I just can't see it because I love rats so much. So we've got Doomlock, Doom Wheel, Warlock, and then some rats. So the Doom Wheel profile's the same, I think. And it's got all this is the same. Stomp attacks, AP1. Enemy units suffers impact hits, must immediately take a leadership test. Stupid. If this test is failed, becomes oh no, that's fine. Yeah, it becomes disrupted. So you basically, if you hit anything with impact hits on a doom wheel, they take a leadership test, and it suffers impact hits. Yeah, take a lead, and then they lose their rank bonus effectively, which is pretty cool. Zap, that is strength which template is removed and the model loses 1 wound. Yep, that's the same. Or maybe actually I think at the moment they might get hit and the model uses a wound, but Gisele's revised. I don't know why that's there because I don't think I have. I think I made them slightly cheaper. I think they're like 24 or something at the moment. But all of these rules are exactly the same, aren't they? Yes. Yes, they are. Why is that rule tweaked? It's not, is it? Ah, no, I gave them accurate. No -1 to hit for long range. Which is a Giselle rule. That's something I've... They don't have so at the moment they have light armor. That's right. At the moment they have light armor. I've taken that away, so they've got no armor save. Yes, that's what. Yeah. That's why So no -1 to hit for long range as well. So I think that makes them a little bit better. I'm tempted actually to make them that because that's A Giselle team is made up of 2 rats, and it looks like all my Skaven have gone somewhere. Warp lightning cannon I have made better. Have I? I've changed the misfire table a little bit. That was it. So meltdown blows up. I think that's the same. Random direction, strength 6. Now bearing in mind it is AP through and it is multi wound D3 +1. Did I add +1 to that? I think I've added +1 to that. Fails to shoot this turn. Then resolve unstable only. So roll a d6 per remaining crewman on a 1 to 2 that crewman suffers a strength 4 hit. So basically the thing, it's got how many crew has it got? It should say it should have 3 crew basically. Engineer. It should have an engineer and 2 crew. I need to put that in somewhere. Anyway, it's got an engineer and 2 crew. They've all got the same stat line. Oh no, engineer. I've got 3 wounds here. Yeah. So So there's 3 of them, and you could roll 3 ones, and then all the crew are dead, and then the thing's dead. But you do that a few times, and everything's dead. Everything's dead, Dave. Everybody's dead. Clan Scryer, Poison Wind Grenadiers, which are exactly the same, I think. Clan Moulder, Masters of Clan Moulder. So we've got Master Moulder. They're not very good, right? They're okay. They're quite tough because they're used to getting squished by Hell Pit Abominations accidentally and all that kind of nonsense. But, actually, they're pretty mid in terms of characters. But their job really is just to run around with rats and point at where the rats should be going. They can take some magic items, not the usual amount. So Packmasters can only have 30, which kind of limits what they can do. A Master Molder or Packmaster may join units of giant rats or rat ogres. If a unit includes a Master Molder or Packmaster, it is no longer stupid. If your army includes a Master Molder, you can take 2 units of Rat Ogres for 1,000 points. Rat Ogre, Rat Swarm, and Giant Rats gain +1 leadership and hatred all. Yep. Giant Rats should have Horde and Warband, really. But yes, they'd be like leadership. So the Master Molder goes in there and makes it... Ooh! That's supposed to be 4. Makes them better. Rat Ogres makes the Rat Ogres better. Their leadership 5 already. So it just makes them. You basically, if you're taking Rat Ogres or Giant Rats or whatever, you probably want one of these masters to stick in the unit to make the leadership good. That is way too high. I don't know why it's that high. Yeah, I don't think I thought that one through. That should be like 4 as well. Oh no, Rat Ogres, no, they do need a slightly higher leadership, don't they? 4, yeah, so that can be 4 and 5. Because with 3 ranks, that'll be 9 and that'll be 8. Yeah, I think that's fair. Frenzied. So here's my rule change, which I would suggest we have as a like generic rule change for all of Warhammer, called Frenzied Stupidity. Whereas a unit with both Frenzy and Stupidity, if it fails its Stupidity test, instead of standing, drooling and inactive, it must either charge an enemy unit if there's one within its maximum charge range, or if there's no enemy within charge range, it must move directly towards the nearest visible enemy unit, marching if able and pivoting as needed to move at full speed towards them. Until your next command phase, if this unit fights in combat, it loses the extra attack for Frenzy whilst in a state of Frenzied Stupidity. So it still gets to do stuff, you still get to charge stuff, but they've totally lost control. And they've lost control, their Stupidity and Frenzy combines to make them just go headlong at the enemy. And, but it does lose the extra attack for Frenzy because they're less controlled. Because they're stupid. They're stupidly Frenzy. Stupidly frenzied. Right, so I think that's quite a cool rule. I quite like that. And it does mean that you haven't got this massive, gnashing, frenzied unit just stood there doing nothing, which is so stupid. Right, rat swarms. I think I've increased the wounds, and I think they're toughness 2 and 6 wounds or something at the moment, so I've made them toughness 1 and 8 wounds, I think. Have I just made that up? Is that just a total lie? Could be a total lie. Rat swarms. I like rat swarms. They're toughness 2. Oh, 5 wounds, 5 attacks, toughness 2. Yeah, so I've increased their weapon skill by 1, made them strength 1. They're strength 2, so I've decreased their strength and toughness, but made them 8 wounds. I've taken away an initiative point as well, and given them an extra pip of leadership for some reason, despite the fact they're unbreakable. Scurry away, expendable vermin, They may be upgraded to poison rats, so they get poison attacks, and they go up to 45 points. And at the moment, so I've dropped them by 1 point as well. But I have seriously downgraded this bit, so they are really, really easy to kill. Anything can kill them easily. But there's a lot of wounds to chew through. So if there's 6 bases, that's 48 wounds of unbreakable nonsense that you've just got to chew through. I mean, every time you hit, you're going to wound, pretty much. But, yeah. And then we've got Hell Pit Abominations, which I think I've made slightly more expensive. 10 more points I've added. I don't think I've changed 3. Okay, I've got rid of the ballistic skill because it doesn't need it. And I've decrease the initiative because it doesn't look like an initiative 4 model to me, and the attacks are the same, and its leadership is currently 8. I've really dropped its leadership because it's unbreakable, so I don't know why it needs such a high leadership. Anyway, claws, hand weapons is the okay. It's currently got Warpstone Claws, which are AP1, Armor Bane 1, magical attacks. Did I need to sort that out. Oh no, hold on. Magical attacks AP2. Okay, so I've just AP2 magical attacks, which I think is better than... It is slightly better. That's hence that. Yeah. So it's got Scurry Away, which you can't use because it's unbreakable. So I don't know why I've got that in there. It causes fear. Probably no, it doesn't. It causes terror, doesn't it? I don't know why I've only left it with fear. Terror. Regen 5. Random attacks D6 plus 1, which is fine. It's D3 plus 1 stomps. It currently does have D3 plus 1 impact hits as well. Hits. Don't know why I did that. D3 plus 1. Impact. These both need capitalizing. Terror, Stomp, Regen 5, random When it's slain, so this is the too horrible to die thing. Too horrible to die at the moment says it just dies. On a 1 to 3, on a 4 or 5, you get a rat swarm, and a 6, it gets some wounds back. So the 6 is the same. This is new. It explodes. The abomination bursts apart in a shower of gore. All units, friend or foe, within 3 take D3 strength 5 hits with AP 1. Then remove the model. Place a flame template. So the rats emerge, and rather than having like a rat swarm stick around and just be a pain in the arse, this one is again a flaming thing, and it's just like a rat swarm bursts out and just devours everything and then dissipates. Is kind of what I'm going for, rather than just like a rat swarm just kind of just drops out of the bottom of it. Eshin. Oh no, I did make the special character weapon skill 8, didn't I? I think I might have made him strength 5. I can't remember now. Anywho, you got this master assassin and a normal assassin. Normal assassin's got the same profile, and they got that kind of stuff. Stuff about being hidden in units. I think that's more or less the same. They get -1 penalty to hit. He does count as a master assassin, so he's already -1 to hit. Okay, cool. I don't need to. This modifier is ignored by attacks that automatically. Then we've got an Eshin sorcerer, who is quite cheap and can be upgraded to wizard level 2. There we go. Doesn't have warpstone tokens, so it has to buy them. That's why it was that cheap. Blah 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 blah. Night Runners revised. I don't know what is different about them, but I think they're the same pretty much. Then we've got some Gutter Runners. Again, I think they're exactly the same. They might even be cheaper. I don't know what I've done there. 17. No, that's the same. No, they've got exactly the same models as -1 to hit on any or enemy attacks made against them in close combat. Shifty. I've added that rule to make them a bit more survivable, because they're very, very, very expensive. I mean, they've got a lot of cool rules, but they don't really have amazing weapons. Like, they've got 2-hand weapons, and maybe they can take slings or throwing weapons. It's not like they've got great weapons and bloody halberds and crossbows and stuff like that. They've got rubbish weapons, but lots of cool rules. So I just wanted something that gives them like a bit of an extra edge in combat, because they've got no armor, right? They're just dying, so they need some protection, and it can't be. I don't want them heavily armored. It's got to be like some rule, basically. Then triads. So Eshin triads, 3 of these. Toughness 3, 2 wounds each. They're 36 points each. They have smoke bombs, not the smoke bomb, but smoke bombs, and all this kind of stuff. They've got throwing weapons, light armor, 2-hand weapons. On a 2-up, they can immediately make a 2d6 random move. If not on the 1, they can range in place and count. Enemy units that charge a unit using smoke bombs is -1 to hit for the rest of that combat phase. So obviously they can make a 2d6 random move away from the combat, so you can make the charge fail. So you've got to be like pretty close to them to charge them. So they're quite cool. They're interesting. And then we've talked about the special rules already. And then finally, we have magic items. Now, the Fellblade. +3 strength, multiple. So I've kept the rules exactly the same, apart from this paragraph, this sentence here. If the wielder is a master assassin, roll a d6 instead. So basically, 1 in 3 turns, the bearer is going to take a wound. So if you've got 6 turns, with your warlord with the Fellblade will probably take 2 wounds throughout the game. If they're a master assassin, they might only take 1. So it's worthwhile sticking your Fellblade on a master assassin. Sorry, there's a lot of keywords that I was planning to introduce, but then I thought, actually, it's just going to get too big, because Skaven are quite not. So, Warlord's Doomblade, +2 strength, AP 1, magical attacks, and multiple wounds 2. they can get a 1 lost wound every time they slay an enemy character or champion, which is pretty cool. Clan Molder. Now, this is only for the master molders, of course, because the mini molders have only got 30. Plus D strength and AP 2. Each wound roll of 6 does D3 wounds, which is pretty cool. Blade of Nurglich, I think was the same. Yep. Weeping Blades. Yeah, I've gone through the the limited. So Weeping Blades. Paired hand weapons, AP2, multiple wounds D3, +1 attack, uses both hands. Death Globe is a thrown weapon, single use attack that counts as magical and move and shoot. Choose a model in an enemy unit as your target. If hit, place a 3-inch blast. All models touch mustache initiative test or take 1 wound. With no arm saves, ward and regen allowed. Allowed as usual. Death Globe, that's pretty cool, but there's Clan Scryer now. I've limited it to Clan Scryer. So, you know, it's useful for Warlock Engineers to use against chargers, I'd submit. But, yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, okay. And then we got Warpstone armor, which is heavy armor, wizards may wear without penalty, and it gives you a 5 at ward save. So that's pretty cool. It's extremely common. I'd expect to see Warpstone armor quite a lot, which is how it should be. Plague Husk. This is 5 up. This is 5 up armor save, 6 up ward. And it can hurt you if you fail toughness test. But if you fail a toughness test, it's still only a hit. It's not an auto wound, so it's not that bad. Clan Eshin. Yeah, wearer can't be targeted by any attacks when it's further than 12 inches away from the attacking unit, which is pretty cool. And that's an old Cowl of Shadows. I think that's like a 5th edition item, I think maybe. Flesh Stitch Hide. 6 up armor, regen 6 up, regen rolls of 6 up, also restore a lost wound on a 4 up. So more rolls, but if you roll a 6 up to regen, then you can get some wounds back, which is pretty cool. Warlord's Mantle has a 5 up armor save. Friendly units may reroll Panic. Only characters from the Warlord. Yeah, I was going to call like Verminous, like Warlords and Chieftains Verminous. I knew I got that right the first. I before E, except after C. Chieftains. Yeah, don't do that. Right. Talismans. So Blessed Plague Icon for Pestilence. All friendly Pestilence units within 6 up gain a 6 up ward against non-magical attacks, which is awesome for 40 points. So stick that on your bloke on your thing, and on your plague catapult, and then you're making like a Death Star style thing there. Smoke Shroud Talisman for Clan Eshin, because they don't have any armor, I don't think, Pestilence, or not much. Once per game at the start of any phase, may activate the talisman. At the start of the next player turn, the bearer and any unit they are with count as being in hard cover against shooting attacks. So, Clan Eshin, you know, you might have that big unit that you want to march forwards. Well, the whole unit counts as being in hard cover, so it's probably like -2 or -3 to hit at that stage, or maybe even -4 because you've got skirmish. Hard cover, I think, is -2, isn't it? There might be other effects as well, so almost impossible to hit with shooting, basically. The Banner of the Horned Rat. This is contentious. When the banner is raised, the veil between worlds tears open and the Horned Rat Fury... When activated, the Skaven player rolls a d6 for each enemy unit on the battlefield. On a 4-up, it's struck by once per game, okay, at the start of any player's turn. On a 4-up, it's struck by a Warp Lightning Blast. Resolve this as a stone thrower hit centered on the unit. Then the opposing player rolls a d6 for each Skaven unit. On 6, that unit is struck by a stone thrower hit in the same way. I just think this is too... I love it because it's mental, but I think it's too good. I just think it's too good. That's too good. I wrote these last December and I knew it was broken, but that's too good. I think this is just too good. Maybe not a stone thrower hit, maybe something else. Like, I don't know, D6 strength 4 hits, AP 1, something like that. Banner of Bubonic Glory. Stained with centuries of sacred filth, this tattered relic fills nearby vermin with fanatical fervour and choking haze of contagion. Bearer's unit gains poison attacks. Enemy units suffer -1 to hit in close combat while the banner is active. Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. I think that's probably a bit much as well. Eshin. Yeah, -1 to hit in close combat. Counts in save soft cover against all shooting attacks made from more than 6 inches away. That's pretty cool. And slightly interesting. But remember, the Clan Eshin, it's got to be the Eshin Sorcerer. So this is your battle standard bearer is taking the Shadow Silk standard. You know, so... But, you know, for a BSB in a unit of skirmishers, I'm just trying to make the Clan Eshin, like, army possible. And I don't really know how to go about doing that. I mean, this might be too much. Standard of the Black Claw. Storm Vermin or a Chieftain. Gain Swift Stride. Special rule when charging. If carried by a Chieftain, any Storm Vermin unit within 12 inches may also re-roll failed charge distances. Yeah, so this would replace the current Swift Stride banner, which is... I can't remember what it's called. I've got it in here. Banner of Verminous Scurrying. So, Banner of Verminous Scurrying is 35 points at the moment. I don't need to make it any better. Just need to make it slightly cheaper. Then we've got Storm Demon, same as it was. Book of 13. +1 to cast. Let's reroll the first and roll result on the miscast. Why would that be? I haven't reviewed these. This is ChatGPT nonsense, isn't it? Obsidian Shard, black blah blah blah. Enemy wizards -1 to cast. In addition, the bearer may reroll 1 failed casting roll per phase if no enemy can draw line of sight. Now that's... Oh, hold on. That's Eshin, isn't it? Yeah, I like that, actually. I like that. I think that's quite cool for Eshin. Because if they're hidden and they're doing like an enhancement like around the corner, that feels like an Eshin-y thing to be doing. Censor of Unclean Revelation. This reeking relic swings with maddened fervour, spreading both plague and enlightenment in equal measure. All enemy units within 12, -1 weapon skill and -1 initiative tilt. Yeah, that's fair. That's not that bad. You know, it's a bit annoying for them, but yeah, cool. Warp Battery. Once per turn when rolling to cast, bearer may add D3 to the casting result. If the total is a double 1 or a double 6, the bearer suffers a strength. Pointless. We've already got that. Galvanic Conduit. A set of arcing coils fixed to the wizard's harness, capturing X. Each other bet. Okay, one warp charge. No, fuck off. That's stupid. Skitter Leap Charm. One use only. Okay. At the start of any movement phase, remove the bearer from the battle. Paste them, at the end of that phase. Paste them. Bearer may not charge. That's an Eshin. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, it's like a auto casting bound Skitter Leap, but it's bloody expensive. So yeah, I mean, if you want to spend 60 points on the ability to teleport your master assassin once, then feel free. But I don't think anybody would take it. So I'm tempted to delete it because nobody will take it. Icon of the Blessed Chamber. +1 to cast and reroll failed leadership test caused by fear or panic. That could be really good. There's a lot of stuff that like I'm looking at a Pestilence Death Star thing here, which I might have accidentally created one. Whoopstone Stars. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they're cool. How much are they? 25? Yeah, they're worthwhile. Tail Ring of Cunning. Bearer gains +1 initiative and may re-roll failed initiative tests. Do you know what? I'm going to do that. On that. Because it's not that much. I mean, when do you take initiative tests? So yeah, that's all of it, I think, isn't it? I think I've gone through all of it. I need to review it again and like proofread it and stuff, but that's my Skaven Arcane journal. So resplendent with 2 sub-factions, 2 special characters reflecting the sub-factions, that are designed really to be taken in the sub-factions. What I've noticed with a lot of the special characters so far is that they are essentially, how do I put this? They're kind of like, they're supposed to confer the benefits of the sub-factions on the Grand Army, but on a smaller scale. So, like with Orcs and Goblins, you've got Ogdruds, whatever his name is, Odgruz, something like that. Anyway, he's like the troll guy, but you don't really want to take him. Well, you can take him in a troll list; it's fine. He's perfectly well suited there. But actually, if you wanted a bit of trolly, enhancement in like a Grand Army list, so if you had like 2 units of trolls, then you might take Ogdruds, whatever, in your Grand Army list with a couple of units of trolls, so you get a bit of those trolly special rules there. And that's what I think, or what it feels like a lot of the special characters are designed to do, just sort of pull bits of rules from the sub-faction and allow you to take them in the main faction. With this, I've designed special characters that are supposed to be taken in the sub-faction. In fact, in this book, they can only be taken in the sub-faction, I think. So yeah, let me know what you think. I mean, this is like an alpha sort of. It's just a bunch of ideas for what a proper Skaven Arcane journal could look like. And do you know what? If this video gets like shared enough or whatever, subscribe, like, all the rest. If I get like enough likes and shares and so on and so forth, or comments, I don't know. I just need a bit of encouragement, really. I'm a human being. Sort of, but yeah, just a bit of encouragement, and I'll start to work on other things. And I do need to figure out a way of like setting up a website so people can like alpha test stuff and provide me with feedback. So if you're having like a fun game at home or down the club or whatever, and you're like, this nerd weirdo bloke off Tinternet has come up with a load of random ideas for Skaven. Can we just have a crack at see whether they're any good? I just wanted. I basically want them to play like Skaven again, and they don't. Skaven don't play like Skaven at the moment. They play a little bit like Skaven, but not properly like Skaven. Like, you're not killing yourself enough. That's the problem. But then also, it's a really difficult balance for Skaven, actually, because, like I said, you want the army to have tons and tons and tons of output, but it just dies really quickly and most often kills itself. So, yes, you'll have like this mega weapon that will take out an entire unit of, quite comfortably take out like a unit of 6 Grail Knights, but then it will destroy itself and everything within an 8-inch radius. So you kind of, you've net achieved nothing really. And that's kind of where I really love Skaven to be, because it's just this random but Pestilens being this like random blob of, Pestilens a different flavour again. And the Dwellers Below, I think, is such an important part of how they play on Warhammer Total War, that which is a really good rule. It's not actually from Total War. It's from I can't remember where it's from, but it's from a previous edition of Warhammer. I think maybe 2nd or 3rd. I can't remember. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we had like a unit popping up thing at some. Do you know what? It might have even been just some random fun battle scenario that they chucked in, like White Dwarf, 140 or something like that. But I've definitely seen the Dwellers Below thing as a rule, and the rule that I've written is, a lot less bad than that, because you get 13 Skaven slaves. So they allow you to The thing is though, with the Dwellers Below rule that I've got, you've got 13 Skaven slaves. You could chuck that into like a dwarf cannon, fine, but then the dwarf cannon, they're hitting on twos, maybe threes. So that's probably 2 hits. The wounding on 4s. You've got no armor save. You've got infantry outnumbering, so you might draw that, so you might be okay. But if you lose it, you've only got like leadership, 3, 4. So if you lose a round of combat, they just go pop, and then they might kill, the remainder of the crew. So it's not that good. Like, it's really not that good. But let me know what you think. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend, and I hope to catch up with some of you soon. I need to do like a preview of the summer. I think I'm going to do next Wednesday. I'm going to go through all the tournaments that are on in summer, and just build a bit of hype for them, really. But anyway, thanks for listening. Catch you again soon. Toodaloo.